Salam and peace again. This is Chantal, founder of Honored Womb, author of Peaceful Periods, and we are continuing our Remembering Our Rites, Periods and Postpartum chat series, where we are talking about first period and postpartum traditions from around the world. Earlier today, we had a chat about Yemeni and Javanese traditions, and now it's time to talk about Malay traditions. There we go. Assalamu alaikum.
Hey, walaikum salam.
How are you?
Good, alhamdulillah. How are you? Oh, I can't see you. That weird.
Really? Oh gosh, it's always one thing or another. I can see you. You
Okay,
can
good.
hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, Bismillah. We'll go ahead and get started. So I haven't introduced you yet, but do you want to introduce yourself or should I tell people about you?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, tell people about me.
Okay. So Adila is a third culture kid. I would call you a third culture kid.
Yeah.
I remember one of our early interactions, I was actually asking you about what your experience of growing up abroad was like,
Mm.
because my kids are third culture kids in a way.
Mhm.
But I know that you have lived internationally. I know that you were initially a doula when I first met you, and now you're a midwife. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you're a mom of four children and four
Alhamdulillah.
and four cats.
Yes, that's right. One for each
And
kid.
so, just to keep the balance, keep the balance in the household, not outnumbered by the cats. And I know that you hunt.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
also ride horses. Did you grow up riding horses
I
as well?
did. Yeah, I
Okay,
grew up
see, I
riding
pay attention.
horses. Oh, girl, you know all the things. I love it.
But yeah, I really wanted to. I mean, you always so beautifully show different aspects of your Malay heritage when it comes to postpartum care. So I'm really curious as to how your heritage shaped the way your first period was received, how you were prepared for it. Was there any celebration? And is there any overlap in Malay culture between first period celebration and postpartum celebrations or traditions?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me tell you the story about my first period. So I knew what it was, right? Because my mother had talked about it, and my mother and yeah, I was in Singapore at the time. So I was in my mother's home country, and, I have five aunts. And so we're all very open about our bodies and what's happening, and making remarks about our breast size and, our bowel movements and what's happening. So it's very open family. And I'm not sure if every Malay family is like that, but I will say, like, from what I've seen, even like the Malays that I know here in the US and Houston, we're all very open about things. I'll never forget all the remarks that all the Malay women asked me after I got married. And I was like, oh wow, yes, let's talk about that. But I was at school, and I went to the bathroom, and I knew it had happened, and I went to the nurse, and I didn't tell the nurse. I was at an international school, and I just told her, I said, I threw up. And so she was like, oh, I've got to call your mom, and you've got to go home. And so my mom was really upset at me that I had to pull her out of work, because she had her own antiques shop, and she owned it. She ran a shop in the Fullerton Hotel, which is a very big hotel in Singapore. And so, she's driving, and she's like, oh gosh, I had to close the shop down and I had to come get you. And you don't even look sick. And I'm just sitting there like, okay. And I didn't tell her anything. And I knew that she kept a pad in her purse. So when we got to the hotel and we got to the store, I pulled the pad out, and I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. And so I went to the bathroom, I put the pad in, and then I went about the day. And then when I came home, we came back to the house, I finally told my mom, I said, hey, I got my period. And she looked at me and she was like, no, you didn't. I was like, yeah, I did. She's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, really. And then she said, show me. I was like,
Mm,
okay. So we went to the bathroom and I showed her, and she was so excited. She
mm,
left me in the bathroom and straight away called her sisters to tell
oh,
them that Adila has gotten her first period. And everyone was so excited for me, and they were happy, and everyone was telling me their first stories. And it
mm,
really was, it was special because my mom's mom died when she was very young, when she
mm,
was like about 6. And there, my grandfather had remarried and had more children. And so there's 10 of them, there's 10 siblings. And so occasionally, like some of the sisters or the siblings and the boys, they would be like with like their aunts. They would like live in their aunt's house for a little bit and grow up, in different homes within the family, though. And so, my the second eldest aunt, my mom's second eldest sister, she was telling me, no one told me about this because my mother wasn't around. And so when it
mm,
happened, I thought I was dying because I was
oh,
bleeding and it wasn't stopping. And I thought that was the end. Like
yeah.
something was happening to me and I couldn't stop it. And so she didn't understand that. And so it felt very special to be surrounded by women who, embraced the change and celebrated me moving into
Mm,
this next stage of my life. And it has always been that way. I remember sleeping at my aunt's house one time. This was many years later. And I got my period in the night and I bled all over the mattress. And it was like one of those fold out floor mattresses because we sleep on the floor over there.
mm,
And, I woke up and I was very like, oh God, like I made a big mess.
mm,
And my aunt was just like, don't worry about it. Go get in the shower and I'll clean up. And, she stripped the mattress down and started washing it and sunning it and was just kind of like, no big deal. Like, don't worry about it. Like, this
mm,
is normal. This happens. It's not something shameful.
yeah.
We are women and this is what happens. So, it was very, very nice. And, it's now that you and I both, we have children of our own, teaching our kids this stage of our cycle, I think is really like full circle, right? Like I'm really teaching my son the importance of what this means, the importance of rest, really teaching my children like, okay, like mommy, yeah, I'm not going to be picking you up right now, and I am going to be in bed a little bit because I'm resting during this time, because I'm bleeding, because I'm on my cycle. And so they know it and they know how to care for me. They come and bring me the heating pad. They know that I'm going to be using that. And the Malay side of things is very tied into postpartum. It's keeping away the cold, right?
Mm,
So a heating pad, socks on the feet, not drinking anything, no cold water. My mother would make me like ginger tea all the time. So a lot of warming heat adding to the body, and not stopping the flow, right? Not shocking the system, I guess.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so those principles and rest, I'm assuming as well. So like giving
Yeah.
space for warmth and rest and kind of extra
Mhm.
attention. Do you feel like that kind of helped you receive the postpartum confinement, the idea that, okay, I'm going to have a very intentional rest after birth, that there's going to be a particular protocol, a way that I'm eating and drinking that's very specific and beneficial at this time?
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. And, it's very hard for women today, even back home, sometimes I see it in Southeast Asia, but like specifically in America, for women to be able to slow down. Like, how do I slow down? What does that mean?
Mm,
I feel like I must always be busy. And if I slow down, that something is wrong. Like, that's bad. I'm unproductive, right?
mhm,
And so if we're able to learn, the cycles that our hormones go through on a monthly basis, I mean, I can tell a huge difference in my cycles at the gym, like when I can lift heavy, when I cannot lift heavy, like when something feels very intense, and it's usually right before my period comes. I'm like, oh, here comes my cycle. I can see it. I can feel it in my body. So knowing when we can push ourselves and be productive, but also knowing when it is time to rest. And so being able to accept that, this is beneficial for me, that this is what I'm meant to be doing. And it also helped, of course, the fact that my mother and my family never looked at it as unproductive, right? That I am in a state of rest. And so being able to accept that postpartum rest is definitely a lot easier. I mean, when I gave birth to my first child, my mom came out for 2 weeks and stayed with me during that confinement period. And I remember I always tell this, but I wanted cereal. I just really wanted a bowl of I think it was Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I just really wanted it. And my mom didn't really want to give it to me, but I was being very adamant about it. And so she's like, okay, fine. And she put the milk in a bowl, and then she heated the milk up. And then she poured the cereal in there, and she was like, okay, here you go. Now you've had your treats, but it is in warm milk and it is not cold. So yeah. And I'll never forget what my mom told me after that first postpartum. She said, everything that I've done for you, now you will remember this because you will do the same for your daughter. And so that was really important for me to be able to continue that education into our children, and teaching them how to rest, how to care, how to slow down, how to listen to our bodies, right? And that our bodies are intelligent on their own. And our body can tell us, when you need to slow down and when you need to feed and nourish yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important. There's so much overriding, right? It's like my brain knows better than my body. And so it's like, yes, I'm
Mhm.
tired, but I'm going to drink some caffeine drinks because I need to get
Mhm.
this deadline done or I need to push through. And especially as women, it has so much impact on our health, like it's
Yeah.
our bodies are designed to carry life, even if we're not thinking of reproduction. Like that's just one thing that our cycles remind us of, that there is a cycle within us. And part of
Mhm.
that design is to be able to carry life. And it doesn't make us, as much as a lot of women, we pride ourselves in like all the things we can do under stress out of necessity. That doesn't mean that it's optimal to
Mhm.
optionally choose to like maintain high levels of stress and how that depletes us over time. So can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about some more of the specifics other than warmth? What are some specific practices that you feel are unique to Malay heritage? Because when I had a conversation with Mama Shafia Monroe about African American postpartum traditions, it was interesting because, of course, there's universal principles. There's a lot of overlap, like warmth,
Mhm.
rest, etc. But
Totally.
one thing that she distinguished from the African American tradition from the Chinese tradition, for example, is baths. So
Mm.
I have heard many women in confinement, Chinese confinement, will say, okay, we do like sponge baths, but we don't bathe or shower or wash
Yeah.
our hair. Like there's a lot of very managed, you want to keep the warmth in
Mhm.
the body. So they usually
Mhm.
don't shower for the 40
Yeah.
days, maybe like some sponge baths or something along those lines. Are there any features that you feel are uniquely Malay in
Mhm.
your experience of
Yeah.
postpartum care?
Um, So very similar to that. So the Malay postpartum, right, is pulled in from traditional Chinese medicine as well as Ayurvedic, and then traditions from the jungle, like a lot of Jamu medicine, and roots and herbs that we find in the jungle. But um, there is the no washing of the hair, right? And to actually cover your head is
Mm,
practice. So like to wear a hat. And we put a paste on our belly, which is to help firm and release water retention and so forth. But there's also a special herbal paste that we put on our foreheads, because we believe that the body's very loose at this time. And so it's practice that you put the herbal paste on your forehead because not only does it help with headaches and tension, but it also helps tighten your face. And then it's practice that you should tie your hair back really tight to kind of lift everything and prevent it from loosening during the postpartum stage. So I think that's one thing that's probably a little more uniquely done. There, when I think about steaming, even vaginal steaming, traditionally it's done every day postpartum, but a lot of women will go to special places to get it done. They're not doing it in their home, and they call it fumigation. It's a fumigation that's happening. And you actually get, put in this robe that comes up to your neck. So it's a whole body sweat. And you're sitting on a chair with the opening, and then the steam is coming through. And so it's like your whole body is getting steamed and not just your perineum, but it is focused there. There is dry steaming and wet steaming. So that can it differs based off of the region that you're in. But there's that. And I feel like the hot stone, I don't know how many other cultures do that, but we do like the hot stone where we put it over a fire and then place the stone on the womb, over a piece of cloth. And it's kind of shaped like a paddle. And it's to help the womb go back into its place, like it's adding something heavy weighed down on your uterus, but also really putting the heat into that area. So that's kind of another thing that I think is unique to the Malay postpartum practices.
I love the floral bath.
Yeah, the floor. So it's really interesting too, right? Because in Malaysia and in Singapore, baths are actually very uncommon, like to have a bath in your home. It's usually showers. That's what people are using. And so even with the flower baths, you're usually going to a spa location, a place that is specifically practiced for postpartum women to come and get treatments there. So that's usually where they have the bath and they can get into it. And if you're doing it at home, the tradition is that you actually sit in a stool inside of big buckets, and then the bath is there, and you pour the water and the herbs and everything over you, and you scrub it on your body, right? And then you're pouring yourself with it. But it's usually done at the very end of your postpartum because, again, we do kind of that similar thing of like not getting, your hair wet and so forth. Very mindful of letting the cold into you, the cold wind hitting you. But the mandi bunga, which, basically means flower bath, is a beautiful thing because there are, certain traditional flowers that are used and herbs and meanings behind it, such as like keeping the evil eye away. We're very prone and open to people's energies. I don't think people realize like how big an energy field really is. I mean, I think we forget how intuitive we can be with other people around us and feeling when someone wishes us good and does not wish us good or doesn't want to be there. Maybe it's something internally they're fighting within themselves. It has nothing to do with you, but you can feel that. And so protecting our energy during postpartum is so important, which is why we do that state of confinement. We're not going out and about mingling at the grocery stores and so forth. We're protecting our energy, and really that's your mental state and emotional state, and who's coming into the home, who's going out of the home, and so forth. And then, the flowers are there to remind us that this is you being more than a mother, right? You're a woman, and with that comes so many different roles. We are lovers, we are sisters, we are daughters, and we are also mothers. But it's easy for us to get trapped in motherhood in that newborn stage of this is my life and I have nothing else. So yeah.
When I lived in Oman, I remember hearing that there were sometimes the women would get a stone from the wadi, like from the valleys, and heat it for the postpartum as well. And then I have another friend who does Indian postpartum care, and also the hot stone is a part of it too. So, it's always interesting to hear. I really think it's a testament to the collective intelligence of women, right? That birth is physiologically pretty common. Like the needs that your body has, the experience of birth, wherever you're birthing, it's still so universal. And I think it's so intuitive to know, like, yes, a mother needs warmth, a mother needs rest, and a mother needs care. Are there any particular foods? Oh, back to the floral bath. I have a friend and client, and I believe she's Tamil, and she said for her first period, she had a floral bath. The women, the
Mm.
women scrubbed her with sandalwood.
Oh,
So there was like a
yeah.
sandalwood scrub,
Yeah.
and then they prepared the floral bath for her, and there was a big party and reception, and it was for everyone, not just for the women. And so she has very vivid memories of everyone presenting her with gifts, including her uncles and male relatives as well. And it almost looked like a prom photo when she showed me, like,
Oh.
and that stands out as like such a vivid memory for her. And I love that for her, because what a way to celebrate this entrance into this new stage of life, and being
Mhm.
a young woman, and
Mhm.
being so celebrated and uplifted by the entire community, and receiving gifts. And it leaves such a powerful imprint that, of course, this is something positive and good, right? Because it's something
Yeah.
that is celebrated, it's healthy. I Maybe it was like a year or two ago, I saw someone sharing about in the Maori heritage that the mother, when her daughter has her first period, they go to the river together and they wash her any soiled clothes together, but the mother
Mhm.
weeps out of
Mhm.
joy that their
Mhm.
people are going to continue, right? Like, to bleed
Oh, yeah.
is to have a future, is to have the potential to bring forth life. And so
Yeah.
I really love this kind of reclamation of celebratory practices, of just, yeah, realizing that there's something positive and beautiful. It's not something, hidden or shameful or disgusting, and how that sets the imprint for so many other experiences with your body as a woman, right? Like,
Yeah.
menstruation is a big part of womanhood. So how do you feel about your body, your bleeding, etc., and how that kind of sets a deep impression in you that your body is whole and healthy, not something that you're at odds with or feel like you need
Right.
to hide or you're disgusted by.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think, speaking of like hiding and all of that, I think also like the Islamic perspective really ties into that because, we have accounts of Aisha and the hadiths of, what the Prophet would be doing while she was on her period and
Mm-hmm.
menstruating, right? That he would tell her to put a cloth around herself and come to bed and join him, like, to be with him, and to lay with him, that she wasn't impure, that she had to be in a different room or
Mm-hmm.
separated,
Yeah.
and that he would put his head in her lap while she was menstruating and he would recite Quran with her, and that it isn't something to hide, that it is something that, in our religion that God has given us, and it is a rite of passage, and something like you said, it brings life forward.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think, the Islamic perspective of things also ties into that, the Malay heritage side of how we look at the period and the woman who is bleeding. And that goes into, fasting. And when you don't fast, or, when you're not praying because you're on your period and you're not like shunned from the masjids, well, why are you here if you can't even pray? It's no, it's fine. Um, but kind of going back to like that, what you were saying about your friend and the whole community sharing in her celebration. I remember when my mom had given birth and she was living in Saudi Arabia with my dad, and it was me. I was born, and she didn't have anyone around her over there, and so my grandfather flew out and took care of her and
Mm,
cooked and cleaned, and so there is an understanding within the culture and the community and the family of what it means to rest and the importance of that rest,
yeah.
um, and that we do go through those different, the changes of the seasons in our life, right? And celebrating those changes, because even, we talked about the floral bath, and it's actually done before you get married too, right?
Mm,
So it's like you're entering a different stage now in your life of being a wife, and a partner, and then you do it again after each child you have, because you're always a new mother after each child, right? You're not the same mother that you were the first time around. So embracing that change and bringing it in a beautiful way. And the sandalwood scrub reminds me of the lulur scrub. We also have a scrub that we use that actually traditionally used to only be for the royals, and then it trickled down to the brides, but
mm,
now it's widely practiced amongst postpartum, and it has sandalwood in it and lemongrass and galanga and turmeric and all the different gingers and so forth, and it scrubs down your body to help encourage that lymphatic system and blood circulation and the shedding of the dead skin cells and encouraging new skin cell growth, and a very warming herbal scrub that is given to the body. So yeah, I think there is like a big tie of how we treat our body as a reflection of our souls.
mm. Yeah. I love how also just how non-negotiable the postpartum care is emphasized in Malay heritage, because I have Malay Singaporean friends who are throughout the diaspora, right? They've moved, they're no longer on the homeland, but they will get some packaged herbs shipped.
Yeah.
They
Oh
will
yeah.
find the auntie in the community who does the postpartum massage. So one of my girlfriends who lived in Abu Dhabi at the time, she knew that there was resourcing within the community of the other Malay Singaporeans. Like, okay, someone's having a baby. Someone had the chair, the steaming chair with the opening, so
Yeah.
that could get passed around. If someone was coming, they would bring the different herbal preparations and plan for that. And like I said, the auntie in the
Mm-hmm.
community to call to do the massages. So I just really loved how it's emphasized. I think sometimes people think of postpartum care as really a luxury and this kind of extra spa kind of experience, but it actually, I love how emphasized it is that this is part of your rejuvenation, this is part of your health, this is part of honoring the sacred role that you have taken on as a mother and birthing as well. So I really love how there's a lot of real emphasis on maintaining and preserving that heritage, to take it
Yeah.
seriously and to not like let it go by the wayside just because you're away from the homeland or you're away from your family. Like coming in to step in
Exactly.
for each other in that way is really beautiful.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think it goes back to, how are we nourishing our community and growth, right, in the future, right?
Yeah.
So we are, as mothers and women of the house, we are the foundation of the house. And so when we're caring for our bodies, it's caring for our minds and how we carry ourselves,
Yeah.
and then into that next generation. So you are nourishing the future generation by slowing down, by teaching, by sharing the things that are beneficial, and they're there for a reason, right? They've been
Yeah.
around for thousands of years, and it's stuck around for a reason. It's not
Hmm.
just woo-woo stuff,
Yeah.
right? There's a reason for this and a benefit, and women see it and they continue that tradition. They continue teaching it because it helps them and they saw it, right?
Yeah.
So Yeah, I think it is a beautiful thing when your community, like you said, when you're away for the homeland and everyone kind of steps in. We have a special oil that we use called Tilan oil, and it's basically like anise seed and eucalyptus in some oil, and we rub it on the babies. And my kids still want it. Like today, when they have tummy aches or they're sick, they want the oil on their bodies and on their stomachs and on their backs and rubbed on the bottom of their foot. And my husband's family, who's Egyptian, they know the smell now. Like when our kids walk in, they're like, "Oh, does someone have a stomach ache? Like, who's got the oil on?" And so it's fun to like be able to share those cross culture things and share with each other what we practice and yeah, carrying that on. So that our children can then teach and share with their friends and their community that, if they migrate somewhere else, right? Because it's within us to migrate, right? Even in the Quran, we talk about how Allah has made us into many nations so that we can get to know one another, so that we can share these practices and these things that we have learned that help our bodies and help our community and the next generation, so that we can uplift one another.
Yeah. Amazing. And like, I love how you made that connection. Like every cycle, we think so much at teaching our children as, okay, sit down and open a book and a lesson, but really, especially as women, how we care for ourselves is it's like such a huge lesson for our children, right? For our sons to know what to expect and model in their partnership and in their homes one day, for our daughters to know what kind of care to expect and receive as she's going through different stages in her life. So I really love the importance of that connection. So are you doing, and I know sometimes you do some binding, the Bongkong binding workshops. Do you have any workshops coming up soon or any online
I
offers?
just finished my online Bongkong workshop. So I just did one. So inshallah, I hope to do maybe another one in 3 months. So maybe at the end of the summer, I'll have another one available. I really like to do them in person, but I do know that, we sometimes need to do it online and teach. And unfortunately, I just can't quite travel to teach these classes. I would love to, but 4 kids at
Yeah.
home and being a midwife, I've got a lot of responsibilities here in Houston. But yeah, I do like teaching it online because I want to make it accessible to everyone and to be able to, number one, understand the culture of where it comes from, the tradition. And this is something that is, across the ocean that's benefiting women here. And so for people to understand that, and then also doing it correctly, right? Making sure that we are helping one another and not, because you can do it incorrectly and cause damage. So I want to make sure that everyone who's learning this is learning the correct way and how it does benefit the body.
Yes. And
So yeah, hopefully at the end of the summer.
yeah, I attended one of your classes and I found it really
Yeah.
beneficial. And it was really informative because when I was saying the name of the bind all wrong, so that was
Oh
one
yes,
part of it. I was like,
yes,
oh, okay, to be at least talking about it accurately. Learning how to make the belly paste was also really beneficial as well. And I really appreciated the cultural context, right? Because you see the aesthetic of it, right? You can go on
mm-hmm.
Canva and look up bind and you see these gorgeous bangkang, the knotted, perfectly
Mm-hmm.
wrapped. But what's underneath it? Is it the rest? Is it the warmth? Is it, and it's something that in this recent postpartum, I was just really been really appreciating even more that all of these things are layered, right? The ability
Yeah,
um, for those tissues and the fascia to heal, like there has to be some underlying foundations, right? That there is rest, that there is warmth, that there is moisture, that there is
yeah,
suppleness, so that the body can be molded and kind of brought back into its original state. And it's not just aesthetic, right? It's actual for
exactly.
your health. And I think that's the other perception, like, oh, I'm gonna bind, so I have a flat tummy. It's like,
Yeah.
well, what are the
But what else are
benefits?
you doing? Yeah.
Exactly. What are you doing? Are you caring for yourself? Are
Yeah,
you losing your weight in a healthy way because you're being fed and nourished, not depleted and just drained?
exactly.
So So highly recommend your course. For me, on May 3rd, I'm going to be
Oh,
offering
yeah.
a free webinar called More Than Pads and Pain, and it's going to
I
be
love
about
it.
how we can create safe spaces for holistic menstrual health education because we want to I just really feel so strongly that that first period leaves such an imprint on you that helps you to be
Yes,
able to receive the care, the attention, and the value, really appreciate the value that the female body deserves. And so that'll be on third. So I'll share more about that. But thanks for joining me for remembering our rights. I hope that we continue to remember and reclaim, you know, these traditions of our heritage and borrow them when needed, right? If you're like
absolutely.
my heritage is Jamaican, I don't know what, it's interesting though. I will say this, my mom, I don't remember seeing my mom practicing postpartum care. My younger brother is 10 years younger than me, so I was very aware when
Mhm.
she was pregnant and born. I don't remember any special care, but I feel like when I became a mom, something just clicked for her. She was like, okay, well, one, I have to come to you. So she came to where I was living. I was in Oman at the time. And even before she came, she was like, are you binding your belly? It was almost like there was like a routine, like something just came into
Yeah,
place. And then years later, when I found out about steaming, she was like, I think some women used to do that back in Jamaica too. So the more that we talk about it, I think it will awaken all of our collective memories, what's in our DNA, right? What our
yes,
ancestors, what our foremothers have passed down. And then inshallah, we can start bringing them back into our practice and reviving it for our
absolutely.
daughters as well.
Inshallah, absolutely.
So
Thank
thank
you so much for having me and allowing me to
you.
talk about my personal stories. And I hope that people have learned more about the world a little bit. You know, we are all
Yeah,
connected in some way.
my absolute pleasure, and thank you for your care and your service of women. So proud of you stepping into this new role as
Well,
midwife,
thank you.
and
We've known each other for a long time. Like, I feel
I
like I've really
know.
seen you grow and
Likewise.
build and, your book and everything and your teachings, and you've seen me grow. And I love it. I do love
Yeah.
this community that we have online and our platforms.
I think our relationship goes back 2 babies ago. Now when I think about
Yes.
it, like
Yeah, it
two
absolutely
babies
does.
ago for you and 2 babies
Hmm.
ago for me. So
I
yeah, we
love
have
it.
history together. All right. Well, enjoy the
Absolutely.
rest of your day. Thank you so much. And inshallah, look forward to seeing you soon. Assalamu
Inshallah.
alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.